Welcome back, audience. You sat down tonight hoping for comfort, for reassurance, for someone to stroke your ego and tell you that you're doing just fine. But that's not why I'm here. That's not who I am. And if you came looking for mercy, if you came thinking I'd hold your hand and tell you it's okay, you've already failed. You're not ready for the truth. You're not ready for what it really takes. You're not ready to hear the thunder of your own steps as you finally become the thing they whispered about when they thought you weren't listening. You're not ready to become the monster. But it's too late, because it's already happening. You woke up one day and the air felt different, heavier. The mirror didn't lie anymore. It didn't flatter you with lies or hide the fire in your eyes. It showed you what they feared, the sharpened edges of your soul, the depthless hunger in your gut, the silence that followed when your name was spoken. It wasn't guilt. It wasn't shame. It was clarity. It was awakening. It finally hit them. They look at you now, and they flinch, not with hatred, not with pity, with silence, with awe, because they don't know what you've become, but they know it's not human, not anymore. You're past that. You're past the weakness of needing permission, past the self-doubt, past the illusion of kindness they wrapped around your neck like a chain, hoping you'd stay docile, hoping you'd stay obedient. But obedience died when you embraced the darkness, when you let go of the need to be understood. You never needed their approval. You never needed their applause. That was the lie they sold you. They wanted you small, manageable, tamed. But monsters don't get tamed. Monsters break the cage. Monsters burn the script. Monsters write their story in blood and thunder and leave the world trembling in their wake. And now they know. They can't speak when you enter the room. Their words die in their throats. Their masks fall apart. Their courage shrinks like rotted cloth in the rain. They finally realize what you are. Not a villain, not a hero. Something worse, something purer, something real. You've bled for every inch of ground. You've clawed your way through silence, through betrayal, through nights that chewed your sanity like raw meat. You stared into the abyss, and the abyss stepped back, because it saw you, because it knew, this one is not prey. This one is the predator we were warned about. They think monster means evil. They think monster means wrong. But they don't understand. A monster is just someone who stopped lying to themselves. You dropped the mask. You stopped apologizing for your strength. You stopped shrinking so others could feel tall. You realized that fitting in wasn't survival. It was slow death. So you rose. Not graceful, not clean, but powerful, unrelenting. The storm that crawls from the horizon and makes gods doubt their thrones. You broke the chains not because you were told to, but because you wanted to hear the sound of metal screaming. Now they tremble, not because you hurt them, but because they see what you could do, if you wanted. Because they know they couldn't stop you. Because they know the leash is gone. You were never the weak one. You were the restrained one. The one who let them speak. The one who smiled while swallowing fire. And now that smile is gone. Now they meet your eyes and see something ancient, something eternal, something that doesn't need to be loved, to be feared. And they can't even speak. They've run out of words. The scripts no longer work. They can't call you selfish when you built everything alone. They can't call you arrogant when you've already conquered every demon they threw your way. They can't call you evil when it was their silence that nearly killed you. They can't twist the story anymore because the story doesn't need their voice. It's yours now. You speak in results, in presence, in the silence that follows your footsteps. You don't need to yell. You don't need to explain. Your existence is the threat. Your eyes are the warning. Your calm is the storm. And it finally hit them. You're a goddamn monster. Not by accident, not by trauma, by choice. Because the world doesn't respect kindness. It exploits it. It chews it up and spits it out. But it remembers power. It bows before power. And you have become power incarnate. Let them hate. Let them whisper. Let them stay silent. Their opinions are ashes. Their judgments, ghosts. What matters now is the path in front of you, the battlefield ahead, the blood in your veins that sings for conquest, not comfort. And you'll walk it alone if you have to. You always have, but never again as a victim, never again as a plea. You walk now as a reckoning. You've tasted silence, the kind that cracks bones and splits the mind into fragments, the kind that echoes in the back of your skull, long after the world has forgotten your name. You've walked through fire that didn't just burn your skin, it seared your identity. It melted every excuse, every illusion, until what remained wasn't a man or a woman or a child. It was a weapon, a force, something the light fears and the dark respects. You didn't ask to be this. You were made, forged, tempered by betrayal and honed by isolation. People look at you now like you chose the pain, but they never saw the nights where breathing felt like drowning, where the weight of being misunderstood pressed down so hard your spine nearly snapped. They never saw you alone in that room, staring into nothing, waiting for something, anything to give. But nothing came. No rescue, no hand, no soft voice saying, "Hold on," and so you learned to stop waiting. You stood, broken, but breathing, wounded, but walking. And with every step, you remembered something the world tried to make you forget, that you are not fragile, you are not disposable. You are not meant to be digestible to people who only love what they can control. So you became something they couldn't. And now that your silence is a weapon and your words are blades, now that your very presence distorts the air and makes weak hearts flutter in dread, they finally feel it. The weight, the magnitude, the consequence of underestimating you. They never feared you when you begged. They never feared you when you cried. They laughed, didn't they? Whispered behind your back, dismissed your dreams, threw bones to see if you'd break your teeth on them. They loved you small. They fed off your doubt like parasites in the dark. But parasites die when the host becomes poison. And that's what you are now. A beautiful, ruthless poison. Not because you wanted revenge, not because you wanted them to suffer, but because you wanted peace and they made war inevitable. You stopped playing their game. You shattered their board. You flipped the script so hard it tore at the seams. Now you're not just part of the narrative. You are the ending they fear. You are the godless punctuation that reminds them not all stories finish with a bow. Some finish with fire. Some finish with silence. Some finish with the slow, soul-tearing realization that they should have been kind when they had the chance. But it's too late now. You don't speak to them anymore. Not because you can't, but because you've learned the power of silence. The quiet that comes not from fear, but from absolute control. That's what they don't get. That's why their throats seize when they see you. Because your silence is not absence, it's dominance. It's the calm before annihilation. It's the last breath before the curtain drops. They thought they could erase you, replace you, outrun you. But monsters don't fade. They wait. And when they rise, it is always catastrophic. And you have risen. You have become the nightmare they thought would never wake, the reckoning they thought would never come. They can't call you names anymore. They barely remember how to speak in your presence. The power you exude, the cold focus in your eyes, the stillness of your rage, it robs them of language. It devours their vocabulary. Because how do you describe something that no longer plays by the rules of your reality? You don't. You shut up and watch. And that's what they do now. Watch. In silence. In regret. In awe. Because you are a monster. And monsters do not beg. They do not bend. They do not explain. You are not cruel. You are just done apologizing for surviving. This world does not reward goodness. It rewards strength, masked in civility. But you tore the mask off. You showed your teeth. You let the monster out, not to destroy the world, but to reclaim your place in it. You stopped waiting to be seen. You became undeniable. Now every step you take echoes in their bones. Every choice you make vibrates through the air like a warning. They sense you before you speak. They feel the cold void of your judgment before you even glance in their direction. It paralyzes them because they know you saw everything and you remember. You remember the lies, the betrayals, the indifference. You remember who smiled when you fell, who stayed quiet when you bled, who clapped when you were dragged into the dirt and told to like it. You remember it all, not because you're bitter, but because memory is fuel, because history is proof. And they wrote the opening chapters of your myth in mockery, so now you'll write the ending in truth. And the truth is, you are not coming for revenge. You are not coming to play fair. You are coming to claim what was always yours. The space, the silence, the respect, the throne built from your pain and paid for in every breath they tried to take from you. And when you sit upon it, you won't gloat. You won't scream. You won't offer them mercy. You'll just look down and smile because it finally hit them. You're not the same. You're not human in the way they understand. You're not broken or weak or desperate. You're something else, something holy in its hunger, something sacred in its wrath. You are a goddamn monster. And monsters don't need permission. The silence around you now isn't empty. It's loaded. It's heavy with the weight of everything you didn't say, with every scream you swallowed, every truth you buried deep inside your chest, because no one was ready to hear it. But now, they hear it anyway. In your walk, in your stillness, in your absence. You don't even need to speak anymore. Your existence is loud enough. They feel it, not like a scream, not like an explosion, but like pressure in the lungs, like a quiet choking that starts as discomfort and slowly grows into panic, because they remember the version of you they could talk over, push aside, dismiss. They look for that version now, hoping maybe you've softened. Maybe the monster has returned to the cage, but there's nothing left. That version died quietly. It didn't scream. It didn't fight. It just sank into the soil and made room for what you were always meant to become. You didn't rise from comfort. You didn't rise from praise. You rose from neglect, from betrayal, from silence so sharp it could carve through bone. You rose from hunger, not for food, but for meaning, for purpose, for vengeance against the numbness that tried to bury you alive. You rose with blood on your teeth and fire in your chest, and now you carry that fire like a goddamn crown. You're not angry, not anymore. That's what confuses them. They expected rage, screaming, spite. They don't understand the calm, the precision. They don't understand that when the monster truly awakens, it doesn't howl. It watches. It calculates. It moves with purpose, with elegance, with terror too refined to be called fury. They try to provoke you, test you, chip away at your silence with their insecurities. But you don't bite. You don't bark. You don't need to. They're already unraveling. All you have to do is exist. That's the curse of becoming powerful in a world built on illusion. The moment you show up as your true self, the masks of others start to crack, and now their faces are falling apart, because your presence makes them see what they lack. Not things, not status, but spine, grit, soul. You are proof of what happens when a human refuses to be consumed, and they can't stand it. They can't match it. So they stay silent. Or worse, they pretend not to see you, as if ignoring your glow will make it vanish. But you don't need to be seen. You don't need applause. You're past that. The monster in you doesn't need validation. It feeds on purpose, on war, on the quiet hunt of destiny. The applause of the crowd is noise. The roar of your own soul, that's music. And still they look at you, paralyzed by the understanding they were never ready for. That they didn't break you. They forged you. Every betrayal, every doubt, every time they turned their back. It wasn't failure. It was alchemy. It turned your bones to iron, your blood to venom, your voice to thunder. You don't forgive, not because you're cruel, but because you've outgrown the need to explain your scars. You wear them like armor. You let them speak for you, and they do. Oh, how they speak. In every room you enter, in every path you clear, they whisper, "This one is not afraid. This one is not here to play nice. This one has nothing left to lose, and everything left to conquer." You didn't just survive. You transformed. You turned pain into policy, fear into focus, loss into leverage. That's what makes them nervous. Not your strength, but your control. The way you wield it, with the grace of a scalpel, not the chaos of a hammer. They know if you wanted to, you could destroy them with a sentence. But you don't, because it's not about them anymore. It never was. It's about the war within. The one you won. The one they'll never understand, because they've never been alone like that. Never sat with their soul under the weight of silence so loud it made their teeth ache. Never clawed through hopelessness with bloody fingers just to catch a glimpse of something that might look like a future. But you did. And you didn't just survive it. You became it. You are the monster now, the storm, the reckoning. You are what happens when pain is not an end, but a forge. When agony doesn't break you, but burns the lies away until all that's left is the raw truth of who you are. You are not what they expected. You are not what they planned for. You are the goddamn twist in their narrative. You are the error in their system. You are the question that cannot be answered with reason or control, because you were never meant to be understood. You were meant to be felt, like a pulse under the skin, like dread in the gut, like the truth behind every excuse they ever made. And it hit them, finally, like a shiver that turns into a quake. They stare at you now, and their mouths stay shut. Not from respect, not from pride, but because words don't work on you anymore. They bounce off your skin like ash in the wind. You've outgrown their language, their guilt, their labels. None of it sticks to you now, because you're past explanation. You are execution, not of people, but of illusions, of weakness, of comfort that coddles and pacifies. You don't destroy the world because you hate it. You destroy what made you hate yourself, what told you to stay small, what tried to convince you that survival and submission were the same thing. They don't know what to do with someone who doesn't need them anymore. That's the part that breaks them. Not your wrath, not your scars, not even your success. It's your freedom. It's your untethered, unleashed, sovereign self walking through their fears like it's nothing. Like you've walked through worse because you have. You already faced the void. You already lived in the quiet apocalypse of your own isolation. You already died and came back different. You are not a survivor. That's too soft. That's too passive. You're a maker, a builder, a goddamn force of nature wearing skin like a disguise. You became something elemental, and elements don't apologize for burning. Let them sit in silence. Let their tongues dry out. Let them tremble in your presence. You're not here to comfort them anymore. You're not here to soothe their egos. You've been doing that your whole life, making yourself smaller, easier, quieter, softer, all for people who never deserved to hear your full volume, but not anymore. Now they hear you even when you don't speak. Now your footsteps echo like thunder in their chest. Now your eyes remind them of everything they ran from, everything they tried to bury, and still failed to kill, because you're still here, and stronger than ever. They thought they could erase you, humble you, break you down, and rebuild you into something that didn't make them feel so small in comparison. They didn't want you gone. They wanted you diluted, manageable, but you gave them a version of you they didn't account for. The version that woke up one morning and said, no more. No more swallowing your voice. No more shrinking in the presence of cowards. No more carrying people who wouldn't crawl for you. No more pretending that peace was worth the cost of your power. And now that it's too late, now that the mask is off and the monster is walking, now they understand. Too late. Too damn late. You weren't the villain in their story. You were the consequence. And now the consequence walks like prophecy. No cape. No crowd. Just scars that tell your story, and eyes that promise there's more to come. They try to reach for you now, in desperation. Some of them whisper apologies. Some try to fake support. Some ask for a second chance. But they're not speaking from understanding. They're speaking from fear, from realization, from that cold sensation in their soul that says, we were wrong. They were. And you don't need to say it. You don't need to scream it. That's what makes it worse for them. The fact that you just move forward, unbothered. You don't seek revenge. You don't look back. Because they're not the point anymore. You are. You finally see it. You feel it in your bones. The shift, the power, the final detachment from everything that used to chain you to their approval. You don't need them to clap. You don't need them to watch. You don't even need them to know your name. Because your shadow walks ahead of you. Because your silence does the talking. Because your very existence now is defiance incarnate. And they can't even speak. Because you took their words from them without ever lifting a hand. You buried their doubt under action. You made their cruelty irrelevant. You stripped their narratives of power by refusing to play the part they wrote for you. You are not their villain, not their hero, not their pawn. You are something new. Something outside their categories. A monster. But not the kind they warn children about. You are the kind that becomes the god they never saw coming. And still, you do not gloat. You do not linger in their pity or their guilt. You walk forward because that's what monsters do. They do not wait. They do not beg. They take what's theirs and leave the rest to ash.